There you go. And if you extend your right arm all the way out and connect the pointer to Sankofa, there you go. Yeah. So that's how you choose the stories.
Okay.
And whenever you're ready, you click the A button.
Okay, thank you.
So we just did like a VR experience of like what some of the residents experienced while they were living at the Nova Scotia Home for Colored Children. It was really cool, like interesting, like to hear things like from their perspective and what they went through. It just made you like think.
Like it was amazing. Like everything was just so real life, and like I could like feel, and I just felt so bad for like all of them that were in there. Like, wish I could just go back and take them out. I didn't know much about it. I knew where it was and like some things that happened, but other than that, like today I have a great understanding of like what happened. Like that wasn't even that long ago.
I learned more in depth the stories because me and my mom would talk about it, but I didn't know how it affected them, and so many of them.
Like I can't believe I had gone like all this long, my whole life, driving past it almost every day, coming home and stuff like that. I should have known about this, you know?
Well, we were very fortunate to be able to join the Restorative Inquiry and their educational mandate to try and educate the public about the lived experiences of the former residents in a way that takes knowledge from the past and flies forward for a more just future. So we've created a 2-week curriculum in which students in grade 11 Canadian history will be able to learn about the home from the former residents, but put those stories in context. Learn about the long history of systemic racism within the province, and then start to ask questions like, why is the home particularly significant within that history of racism? And then to start to say, well then, now that we know the stories, what kind of small action could we take in order to move forward and create a more just future?
It allows the students to see that history presented in a different way. And that's so impactful for young people and even for myself. So I was interested in the VR, but also in terms of how do we continue on the conversation.
Yeah, I did see it in a different lens when I was going through the virtual reality.
They're excited about this being a really new and innovative way to learn about history that is active, that is about people's lived histories, and that addresses some really difficult knowledge that's very important for us to acknowledge and not to silence in our past, and do it in a very careful and thoughtful way.
It gives you like a connection in a way with like the people that came to like share their stories. It was like a really good experience to like experience it in this way rather than just reading and hearing about it. Yeah.
That's what VR provides. It provides that kind of place-based connected learning. And Tony, Tracey, and Gerry are there in the stories, in their bodies in the opening and the closing sequences. But really, even when they're in the stories and you don't see them, you hear their voices close to your ear, walking you through the place of the home, telling you what happened in that home. And so in that way, they truly are building a sense of relationship to those stories that is far more impactful than, I think, learning this kind of facts out of a textbook.
Because it makes you really connect to their stories and makes you want to listen. Those were real people, real stories in those communities.
Not every student is going to be able to meet the former residents, but it's a chance in which they get that kind of virtual meeting and getting to meet them. But today was an opportunity for 2 of the students to meet Tony and connect with Tony and to tell Tony what hearing his stories have meant to them. And it is a pretty transformational experience.
Instead of wearing the badge of shame, it's the badge of pride and respect. And to have youth to be so interested, the feedback I'm hearing is very positive. And for so many years of being silenced, and then to see that we're able to speak about our stories and people learn from it is quite an honor. So many young people like yourself.
It's amazing to see students watch our stories. The most important thing was that to never forget our stories and to make sure that no other kids go through what we went through, and to educate people. So it's very humbling.
So the goal is for us within a year to be able to revise what has been a piloted curriculum, and we needed to learn from students, from teachers, as well as from the principals, and our hope is to make it open source or open access so that it's going to be available to all Nova Scotia schools and maybe even schools outside of Nova Scotia.
It happened right in Cherrybrook. I live in East Preston, so it's super close, so it really made me look at it differently, and I probably knew some of the people who were in those homes.
They were silenced and their stories need to be heard.
And I think everyone should hear them.
So it doesn't repeat and happen again?
It's a blessing, and like I'm so thankful that I actually got this opportunity.